Hello and welcome to Get Into Games on Air, a podcast about board games and the people who play them, make them, write them, dream them, design them, do all the things to them. What do you like? That was a good new intro, I thought. My name is Craig, aka Get Into Games on the Instagram machine and all of those web browser machines. And joining me, as always, is at Mrs._Get Into Games herself. Can you believe it? Shocking. She has joined the podcast.
Hi.
It's Rebecca. Hello.
Imagine if one day I wasn't here.
Yeah,
Would you just do it without me?
No, I'd say, and joining me is Becky, and I'd just wait until there was a response.
Wow.
And if nothing happened, it would just be a lot of silence.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 39, Board Games in Education. That's right. Craig is well out of his depth. Maybe that is the name of the podcast. Today we're going to be discussing how amazing board games are in an educational setting, how they can mould young minds and give you the skills to be fully grown adult people with the mind of your own. Yeah, it's quite nice.
Yeah, they're teaching you skills for the future.
Absolutely.
And they're teaching you things about yourself that you didn't know, which they do for adults. But I think it's enjoyable as an adult watching children go through the process of like, I can do that, and strategizing and making choices about how they partake in games.
Yes, so that is going to be the title. Everything Becky just said is the title of this episode somehow.
Everyone.
But luckily, we have a very special guest joining us later on in the podcast to discuss all things board game education and the differences between home education and school education when it comes to board games. And that's very exciting. Mm-hmm. But as always, first up, we are going to be doing what has hit our table this week, as well as Becky's quiz that we still haven't titled yet. The quiz that she did last week. Becky's quiz. That's what we're going to call it. And I'm excited to get it in 3.
Okay, so I can't remember when we recorded this last week.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go from Tuesday.
Yep.
And hope that people haven't already heard that we played that. So we played a game of Let's Go to Japan on BGA. Yep. We really like that game. We don't currently have it. Our friends have it. But we wanted to see what the BGA version was like. It was fine. I think I prefer the manipulation of the cards and the in-person play. But seeing as we don't have it, I will take a BGA.
Yeah, I really like that game. I think I'm getting used to how the game plays a bit more. I think I need a few more plays, but I agree in real life.
I think it's something like it's not far away. Obviously, it's not far away, but it's one of those games where on the first play you're like, say, what am I supposed to do? And then once you've played it and you see how it scores, you're like, okay, let me go back and do that again, and I'll be able to do it better. Yeah, and then you keep optimizing your strategy.
It's really interesting to me because it looks, when you look at the box and stuff, you think that's a much heavier game than it is, and it's actually like almost like Splendor weight and
so you lay out. So you've got the week. So you've got Monday through to Sunday, is it?
Yeah.
Or is it Monday through to Saturday? Can't remember. You've got the week, and then you have to essentially lay 3 cards under each day. You can move between Tokyo and Kyoto, but if you want to do that, then you're going to have to use a train at the end of the game. But essentially, you play out these cards, and nothing happens other than you play out the cards. Apart from if you match symbols, which you pre-populate on setup. If you match symbols, then you collect like bonus tiles.
Yeah.
Which help you in the game.
Yeah.
But nothing happens, and then you go on your trip, and that's when everything scores and you move all the thing.
Yeah.
It plays quite quickly.
It's surprising. Yeah.
We also played on BGA Acropolis, but with the Athena expansion.
That was fun.
which I really enjoyed. I think I definitely need that expansion. I think it adds something to Acropolis. Now, I don't say that very often because actually, most of the time, I think I don't need this expansion. But it was quite a nice new way of playing Acropolis.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes I get a bit bored of Acropolis. Like, it's not one that always comes to the table. Like, I like it.
Yeah.
But I might choose others to play. But I think with the Athena expansion, it might get to the table.
I think it's like £12 as well. It's like a really cheap. Like most of the time, expansions are at least half, if not the same price as the base game. Whereas this is a really cheap expansion. I mean, it is half the price of the base game, I guess, if it's £12.
Yeah.
But it's a good price, yeah.
Seems okay.
I must.
Then we had on. Well, that was Monday, I think. Actually, then we played some BGA games with Beanie and My Shelf Life. So we played Bloxo and Survive Escape from Atlantis and Six Nymphed and Q-Birds, which I'm only a little bit disappointed because I set a challenge to play 5 games with Brad and Susie.
Yeah.
Just as a silly challenge. I put to play 5 games with all of our friends to see if we could do that over the course of the year. I'm pretty sure that we'll smash that with Brad and Susie, but
yes.
I'm just sad we didn't, in the first play of the year, achieve that challenge. So one more game to play with Brad and Susie.
I will say Survive Escape Atlantis on BGA is...
No, don't do it.
It's not fun. It is not fun.
First
it's
of all,
slow.
The setup, because it requires you to place one person and then everybody else. Oh, it just takes so long.
Oh, it's slow.
And it's not that quick to do things.
Yeah.
Play it in real life. Don't play it on VJ. Then we played a game of Return to Dark Tower and Lost with Alana.
As always.
We have been playing a lot of Everdell Duo this weekend, which we've already talked about on our bonus
episode. Yep.
We played 3 games of King of Tokyo Duel because I won 1, you won 1, and then we had to have a decider. So that was you, but that was not fun because the last decider was with Mecha Dragon, who just obliterates everybody.
Yeah, so playing King of Tokyo Duel is good. We've mentioned it before on the pod that we do enjoy King of Tokyo Duel, and it's probably the best way to play 2-player King of Tokyo. But Mecha Dragon feels broken. He's too powerful, and he is just smashing. So, one, it's quite boring as a player to play as, but I really want to beat it.
It took 2 turns, essentially. There was nothing I could do, and 2 turns later, I was dead.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel like fun. Like, I get that the character can have, a smashy kind of extra bonus ability, but it shouldn't be wow, that's over, we just started.
The character can do 8 smashes or 9 smashes per turn, and if you do that twice, whoever you're fighting is dead, basically. And there needs to be something. And
then yesterday we played Stomp the Plank.
Oh, but we homebrewed it.
Oh, yes.
We homebrewed Stomp the Plank, and it was glorious. So we have giant Stomp the Plank, and we have ordinary size Stomp the Plank. And we found with the giant Stomp the Plank that the magnets are probably not the strongest. They're not as strong as they are in the small Stomp the Plank.
No, but the elephants are so good, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So what we did is we combined the 2. We had the big elephant and the small elephant standing at the back of the plank. Now, if you match your symbols, the elephant walks the plank, but which elephant do you move? So we rolled a dice, and if it was an even number, the small elephant moved. If it was an odd number, the big elephant moved. And it made a really tense kind of thing every time you had to walk the plank. It's like, which elephant is going to move? And we rolled the dice, and it made the game last a bit longer. And yeah it was a lot of fun. It was really good. It
was really good. We played a game of Planet, which the kids have been asking to play recently. I think it's because of the magnetic
tiles,
world thing. They like that. But yeah, we played that. We played a game of Ganz Clever, and then we've played 4 games of Everdell Duo. 2 competitive, and then 2 cooperative. Where we were trying to. So we won the first level, and then we lost twice. No, actually, we played 1 game competitive yesterday, and then
But it was good.
Yeah.
As we mentioned.
But we've talked about that, so
But
we're not going to waste.
Definitely listen to that episode on there. And if you are interested in getting board games, you do know that our sponsor, as always, is Rent, Shuffle and Roll. If you ever want to try board games before you buy board games, why not head to rentshuffleandroll.co.uk and use code GITG50 to get 50% off your first month of board game rentals. They have everything. You create a personalised wish list. They'll send it to you, and they'll send it in a box with an envelope that you can send it back to them. So no real cost to you other than obviously your monthly payment. And to get 50% off that first month is amazing. So use code GITG50 to get 50% off your first month.
Want to play my game?
Let's play the game. Time to play the game.
Okay, so
it's all about
always,
the game, not how you play it. Triple H.
There are 5 words.
5 words.
I think the words go from abstract to like
obvious,
more obvious. Yeah. So that by the 5th word, you should be able to work out the game.
Yeah, easy.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I've got to get it on the first one.
Job.
The game is hero.
No.
Okay.
People.
Job, people. Cities.
No. Building.
Building. Job, people, building.
Job, people, building.
Job, people, building. So jobs are where people work. People work in a building. Building is where you do your job and people go in.
Very good.
So it has to be Monopoly.
No. Green.
Green.
Yeah.
Job, people, building, green.
Job, people, building, green.
Job, people, building, green. Job, people, building, green. Job, people, building, green. Job, people, building, green.
What do you think?
I think it's job, people, building, green. Job, people.
Job, people, building. Green.
Green. Is that the colour of the box?
This might be the first one you don't get.
I think it is. Job, people, building, green.
Yeah.
Everyone's shouting at home. Garden Nation.
No.
No.
Season is the last word.
Job, building, people, green. Everdell.
No.
That's seasonal. I don't know.
Okay, I'll give you a 6th word.
Okay.
Wine.
Wine. Viticulture.
Yeah.
Job, people.
So they have jobs, don't they?
Jobs.
There's people in there, like the meeples.
Right.
You buy
Building.
the buildings.
Mm.
The front cover is green.
Is it? And blue and white and yellow
yeah, but like
and red.
the green as in the vineyard. I didn't want to say vineyard.
Right. Okay.
And then seasons happens over seasons.
That's
isn't
true.
it? I mean, I could have given you wine, but as soon as
let's face it. Job, people, building, green. I actually got it right with Everdell.
It could have been Everdell too. But they didn't have buildings really in Everdell, did it?
Do they? What are the constructions then?
Oh yeah.
So I think I got half a point. I think I won the game.
It wasn't the one I was thinking of. The one I was thinking of was viticulture. But as soon as I gave you wine, you would have been like, "Oh, it's that."
Ah, wine. I liked it. It was good. Did you get it right? Please leave a comment if you got it right. Do you know what's very exciting?
Lots of things are very exciting.
Lots of things are very exciting. But what is also very exciting is when we have an episode of the podcast and a special guest. And that is something that we have right now. We have the wonderful May from Playing Together Board Games on the Instagram machine with us to chat all things board game education. Board
game.
That's only on the OnlyFans site.
Right.
Board game educations.
Okay, that's not even
Hello
either.
Hello.
Yes, it was. Hi, May. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
You're so crazy.
Good. So,
Perhaps we should educate you in how to speak properly.
We should probably educate me on how to speak better words and stuff. How are you? Anyway, how's your day been? Are you okay?
Yes.
Good. Good. This is a woman of many words here.
We'll get her talking.
Absolutely.
I've got a little quiz.
Okay, we're going to get to know May a little bit better. So we got our quick fire questions as we always do. So let's fire some great questions your way. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent.
So, the favourite game you like to play with the kids?
Oh, which one? They all like different things.
All three.
Which one can you play with all of them?
Misfits at the moment, because they can actually all join in with that one with the actual rules.
Yay!
Cool.
A game you would want to teach them when they're older?
Ooh, lots. Probably Root, because that's one that we can do 4-player and we can all do different things with.
That's
Nice.
really cool. Your favourite colour to play as?
Yellow.
Favourite theme to play?
I have a lot of nature-themed games, but I also have a lot of space-themed games. So maybe I'd probably both.
Nature or theme? Nature or space?
Space nature.
Space nature.
It's basically terraforming Mars, isn't it?
Yeah.
Favourite number on a dice?
Oh, 20? That's a good number.
Biggest board game purchase?
If this is like systematic, it's definitely Too Many Bones, because I've sunk a lot of money into that. But it's been like gradual, so it wasn't like a one-off purchase, so it didn't seem as bad, but I've definitely spent far too much money on Too Many Bones.
Nice.
Most proud gaming moment?
This is probably with the kids, is when they've cracked something and they've beaten me, because they don't do that very often.
Yeah, that's quite cool. And then you've taught them really well, because they're like, strategizing over you. BGA or BG Nay? Do you like playing BGA?
I don't game online at all.
There we go then. BG Nay then. Biggest turn off in board games?
Ones that you don't have any agency with. So one, like Roll and Move, where I don't get to decide anything at all. They're absolute rubbish.
Like Monopoly, basically. You roll the dice and you go.
Well, like Ludo and
that's
Sorry and all of those.
Snakes and ladders.
Yeah.
Furthest you've travelled to play a board game?
I travelled a lot last year to board game with people, so probably right down on the south coast.
Nice. Okay. The best maths game?
Ooh, again, age group. I like games that are mathsy but aren't in your face mathsy. So I don't like a lot of educational games, because you're not fooling anyone with those, and the kids don't want to play them. They kind of switch off because they're like, this is flashcards, what are we doing here? So things like Number 9 or King Domino, where you have to do like multiplication and stuff to score, and it's a quick game, but it's not just math. Like, math isn't the focus of the game. But I'd say probably Lovelace and Babbage is the best maths game. That's a very sunny one.
Best game for teaching social skills? All of them could fall into that category. But is there one in particular that you think?
I think we've been doing a lot of like big party game ones with like my kids and their friends, and things like Green Team Wins or Caution Signs, because you don't just need to like answer your question, you then need to anticipate what other people are doing and their reasons for it and how they can interpret it. And that's a massive like learning curve, especially for autistic kids.
Yeah, that's cool. A game that teaches you about the world.
Wrecking the World. Geography is not my favourite subject.
Yeah. No, that works. The best convention you've been to?
UK Games Expo.
Yeah. And a shirt and merch design that you like the most?
Ooh, I have a few. I should probably say mine. I really, really like the Cones of Dunshire one, because that's like sub nerd, because that's like two things meshed into one.
Nice. That's cool.
Cool. And speaking of shirts and merch, did you know that Shirts and Merch is a sponsor of this podcast? You can head over to their website right now and board game in style by purchasing a shirt from Shirts and Merch. Some of the most comfortable and eco-friendly shirts on the market. So head over to Shirts and Merch today. Go on, do it. Treat yourself. I realised this episode I've just been thrown into. You're going to do the ads. We're going to talk stuff.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Because you don't have brain.
You do.
I do, but I am out of my depth. Maybe that should be the title of the episode.
Perhaps. So, do you want to kind of introduce yourself and then talk a little bit about, education in board games and how you use board games to teach your own children and other people's children, maybe?
Sure. I am May. I do Play Together board gaming on Instagram, and I home educate my 3 kids. So we play a lot of board games as part of that. I didn't prepare anything to talk about, so this is all. I'm just going to waffle.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a whole subsection of kind of home education within the world, even just called game schooling, which is just playing board games with your kids and teaching them in different ways, because obviously there are so many genres and different types of games that you can learn like all kinds of different skills from different kinds of games. And it's amazing how you can play, say, maths games and things and teach them times tables in a way that isn't sitting down and doing your year 2 times table practice thing. It's exactly. It's a way to do it a bit more calm.
Yeah. So my background is I'm a teacher. I teach year 6, and I've been trying to kind of use board games, take board games into school. Sometimes with a kind of look to maths, or like I've taken in Roll for It,
mm-hmm.
and some dice games. What's the Rumathon Royale is good for teaching maths, and Monsters Out. Is it Monsters Outnumbered?
Yeah,
those kind of games. But mostly I've been using it for social skills and trying to get the children to work together and enjoy and share and take turns. There's so much, I think, that board games bring to education, and so much that you can learn from playing board games and learn about yourself as well. I wrote a whole list of things that board games potentially can help with. So I'm going to read them out, and then you can speak to what you think about it. But so social skills, making learning fun, strategizing, problem solving, learning about the world, learning about ourselves, bringing people together, listening skills, taking information in, reading skills if you have to read like the rule book,
mm-hmm.
money skills, managing resources. And then the one I really like is like our little one will teach board games to her friends now, which is really cool. I think that's like a really cool skill. Do you want to speak to some of those things?
I completely agree. And then some. All of those. Especially the communication and the teaching. That's something I didn't realise until I saw it. But we go to a number of different groups, and my kids will teach their friends, and to see the skills they need to kind of like control a group of people and explain things in a way that other people understand, not just the way you understand. Yeah, it's really awesome to see.
Yeah, I work with some children who find school quite difficult sometimes. And actually, I've seen them grow and, like blossom because they play board games with each other, and things that they found tricky in the classroom, actually, when they're playing a board game, they can show off all those skills that actually, if they were doing a written piece of work or they were doing some maths calculations, they would find it really tricky to problem solve and show their understanding, explain to other people what they're doing. But in a board game situation, they're willing to have a go and try something new and fail sometimes, because failing is really difficult in school. But actually, they don't mind so much if they fail in board games, then they want to try again. And do you find that with your own children, or when you're going to your home ed groups?
Yeah, I think it's amazing what they can do kind of in the game context, especially cooperatively. I think they're more likely to help each other as well. So if someone's quite quiet or quite stuck or just doesn't know what to do, they'll all around the table, they'll get together and be like, oh, you can do this one, or have you thought about this? Rather than kind of leaving them. It's really lovely to see, because the parents used to do it and the grown-ups don't need to step in anymore, and they can do it together.
Yeah. What kind of games would you suggest for children, working cooperatively together?
I'm just going to look behind me because that's the co-op section. Things like Chronicles of Avel, or Avel. I'm going to butcher everything I say. Love that one. I love games that they can play and kind of make it co-op as well. So they have like co-op options, and my mind has suddenly gone blank.
Maybe Craig can think of some.
Oh, cooperative games for
kids.
For kids, yeah.
I'm trying to think, because we do play games that we work with the children with, but they're all like sort of...
Well, games like Similo is a cooperative game where they have to work together to kind of come up with the clues and that kind of thing. And Deducto is a kind of semi-cooperative kind of little game that's a really nice option as well. So I do find those sort of games quite fun for them, because they do get to like discuss and talk about things that they're trying to do. They're trying to work out and puzzle solve, which is always quite nice. It's just that communication thing, and especially when like with our kids, because one's obviously a lot younger than the other one, it's quite nice to see them both kind of help each other out, and the older one to try and help the younger one in that way. So it's quite nice. It's quite nice.
Yeah, sometimes they team up and they'll be a team against us, and that works quite nicely when they're helping each other out. If you're not playing a cooperative game, sometimes they can just work together as a team. That works as well.
Yeah, I mean, our eldest started playing Return to the Dark Tower with us, and she's trying to cooperatively work out strategies to get rid of big scary monsters and such as like. And
but I suppose like board games to me are a bit like reading books. They open up worlds that they wouldn't otherwise have encountered. Like at the minute, Alana's not read any books about frost trolls and shadow wolves and things, but in Dark Tower she's come across them. So now she has a whole other repertoire of vocabulary that she can draw upon for her schoolwork.
When she's being using imagination and writing stories and thinking of that sort of thing. I mean, board gaming obviously has its like pitfalls when it comes to like losing and winning and losing, because kids don't obviously like to lose, they like to win all the time and that kind of thing. But it's a really good like place to be when you have to
it's sort of a safe place to
absolutely. But for them in that moment, it's quite a hurdle. I mean, how do you overcome things? How would you say you overcome things that you're trying to use games in a sort of educational manner, but also they're eagerness to win that game kind of makes them upset when they lose. Like, it's a hurdle that you have to sort of overcome, I guess.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the working at losing is, again, a whole skill, and a lot of that's age or kind of maturity. So I don't think you can say like, oh no, I'll always win and they'll get used to it, or it'll make them work harder, you know, like you see some parents do. I think first it has to be fun. So if the kid's not enjoying it and they're going to come into it and know there's no chance of me winning, they're not going to put any effort in, because what's the point in trying if, you know, mom's always going to win? There's lots of ways to deal with losing. Sometimes I'll say throw a game or just not play my best, especially against the 4-year-old, and just model really good losing. So be like, oh, well done, like you played really well with that. And then she sees that, oh, you don't have to be sad when you lose, because when she loses a game against her older sister, there's a much more dramatic reaction.
Yeah,
and I do a lot of I do a lot of team things as well. So say we'll play 2-player games and it will be like those 3 against me, and they'll try and work together to beat me, or in card games and things. That works quite well with especially quick games. So if you play lots of really quick games in succession, like Dobro or Double, then everyone's winning and losing, but you're there for a few minutes, so you've not sunk an hour into a game and then lost at the last minute because someone else got a dice roll. This was a quick game and everyone's winning and losing, and it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I think you've played a lot of 2-player games with our eldest, haven't you?
Yeah.
Like a lot of abstract strategy games. And like, you never go easy on her.
No.
But you force her to think of strategies to try to get the win, and she loves it because she comes back asking, oh, I want to try it again. She started playing against me to see if it was easier to beat me, and then she'd worked out a strategy so that she could beat me. So then she went back to you to try to see if she could beat you. Didn't she? Yeah, I can't remember what it was. I think it might have been like
it was Boop or on its armor or something like that. Yeah.
But I love seeing them get excited, and then them trying to employ different strategies and learning from their mistakes. I think that's a massive thing in board games, learning from your mistakes, because we all do it. We played Everdell Duo the other day, and we knew we'd made a mistake straight away, straight off the bat. But you keep going and seeing if you can adapt, and I think the children are better for it, for playing lots of board games and playing with lots of different people as well. So do you take your children to conventions and board game meetups?
Yes, and yes. Lots. I've taken all 3 of them to UK Games Expo every year. I tend to, the younger 2, so the girls, I'll bring to on Sunday, which is the quieter day. So it's just not as busy. And they like different kinds of games. So it means we can basically stick in the kids section for the whole day and just explore. And they love it. They love it every year. I've got pictures of them as babies, kind of like tied to me, things in slings, going around. So it's something they look forward to. And the Vikings outside, so there's enough there that they can keep occupied with. And then my eldest, we go to Aircon, the March one, every year. He asked to go, I think it was 4 years ago now, for his birthday. And we've just been every year, and we've extended it. So instead of just going on Saturday, now we go for the entire Aircon experience. And we sit and we play games, just the 2 of us, for like 3 days straight, which is a lot of fun. So yeah, I go to a lot of conventions. And then group-wise, we go to a few family groups that are on weekends. So there's one that has just started near me, which used to be my old local gaming group in Lichfield. We need to travel a little bit to get to this one. They've started one for little gamers, and we all have kids. I say average age is probably 4, And we get together, and they sat and they played, 4-year-olds sat and played games for 2 hours in this room, like different games. And we got, like pigs on trampolines out and hurry up chicken butt and all these silly ones and stuff. But they loved it. And you can tell their parents are gamers because they all brought their own like little bags with their favourite ones in. And yeah, that was amazing. So that's like the little group that she's just got involved with and making friends there. And then we go to various other ones that are monthly or fortnightly. They play with a lot of other people.
I saw on, I think it was on your Instagram, she was packing for a board game meetup, and you were negotiating with her about how many games she was going to take. She's like, no, I want to take all of these games.
The challenge was, I said she could take them if she could carry them. And the amount that she managed to pick up, I was like, I can't really argue now because that was my condition. And you've just picked up like 6 games and you can't see over the stack, but technically you win. So hats off to you.
What would you say to anybody who's like a bit nervous about because convention season's about to start up again, aircon's not too far away, then UKG later on in the year. What would you say to anybody who's like a bit nervous or a bit on the fence about taking children to those kind of events?
Take a deep breath and do it. I think a lot of the issue is people's perception of you and your kids, and people don't care for the most part. Like if your kid's having a long day or they're overwhelmed, like nobody minds. Go with it. If you need to go for 2 hours and then they've had enough, great, you got there for 2 hours. You got to play something. You might just walk around and they don't want to play anything because it's massively overwhelming. So we always have like ear defenders and headphones and things for them. And I can usually tell if they need time out of the halls because it is really noisy. We can go outside and have a picnic and just kind of follow their lead rather than do things you think they'll like. They'll probably completely pivot on the day. And I don't know, they might really want to see a game running up to the day, and then they'll spend the entire day playing a giant game of King of Tokyo instead. But they've had a great day. So.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think we've said this before about conventions, that there's 2 types of people. There's the people who want to plan it to the nth degree, get the most out of it, and then the other people who just turn up and see what happens. I think when you've got kids, you're right. You can't really decide ahead of time what's going to happen. You sort of have to turn up and then
go with it and then see what happens and just enjoy it for what it is. It will be different, being with the kids as opposed to, like the day we go when it's just Friday and it's just us to UKG. It is great, but I also enjoy taking the kids just as much. And seeing them go, wow, cool. Oh, this new game. Oh, look at that game. They're just as excited as us. So that's really cool. So what age do you think children can get involved in board games?
Dot. I'd say as soon as they can sit on you. So my youngest has, since she was a baby, she could sit on my lap and not join in, but you could get her to roll the dice or really simple things, like hold a card and learn not how to bend it. Or, put things in a card holder, or just sort out the bits. So she would sit on my lap and sort out my kind of components and things. So apples in one and sticks in the other kind of thing. So then she sees that, but she also sees the turn taking and gets used to just kind of like seeing what we're doing and how to sit at the table. But I probably playing something for themselves 2-ish, because it's more about having the attention span to pick up the rules. But that's why I kind of love Habba games, because a lot of the time they're play toys before they can even play the game. Like my first Animal Upon Animal. You can just like play with the little animals and things before you learn how to stack them in the order that the game wants you to.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's like things like small fries games, which are sort of from birth and up, and the games change as they get older. So they start with just looking at the cards, and then like a knocking on the door and opening the doors, and different things that the games do. And they're really good because they adjust to kids' ages as well. So
yeah, I don't think I've ever paid attention to the age on a board game.
no,
Because we've just got them out, and then if they've enjoyed them, then we've played them again, and if they're being silly with the components, we put them away, we try a bit later. But I definitely think our two have been around.
Yeah,
certainly more Corday than Alana. But Corday's just grown up around board games, watched us play with Alana, and they just. I don't remember when we started teaching her how to play games, but she just picked it up, and now she teaches her friends. Seeing her teach Cheese Thief to a whole bunch of adults was it was hilarious. Yeah. And now you do this, and now you do this. And
then
she had it all.
She does the closing the eyes. Everyone who rolled a 1. It's mad.
But she's copied that from you. She learned how to do it, and then she's echoed that. But yeah, it's good.
Have you ever had a moment where you've tried a board game that just has not worked, and it's just not landed, and it's just been impossible to kind of get the kids involved in or enjoy?
Yes.
Or
a huge number of times, especially ones that I'll get and think, oh, they'll really like this, and I get it out and I try and teach them, and it fell flat and then some, and I'm like, okay, I misjudged this one massively. But it can also be their mood. So sometimes I'm thinking, okay, we'll try this again, tomorrow when you're not as tired, and it will go down very differently to if they've had a long day. Actually, weirdly, matching games. My youngest likes a game. She just couldn't get matching games. She just couldn't get that you turn 2 things over only. It just wouldn't click. And she would get so many other concepts. She could get basic drafting, but she couldn't get matching games. So I had to pass all those on to friends.
We found that, so we just had, our eldest just had her birthday party, and her friends actually asked us, are we going to play any board games? And then they were asking you to join in. They were like, you're the board game guru. So they obviously talk about it amongst themselves. But we found that more and more that's happening, that even when we have friends over, they'll want to go and play their own game. So they've got a set of games now up in their bedroom that they go and help themselves do when their friends come over. So we might be playing games with the adults, and they're having their own little kind of games day. Do you find that with your children?
Yeah, if we have people over, I mean, it's quite overwhelming that we're into games if you come into our house, because our living room has basically shelves. But yeah, their friends will ask, and they'll be like, oh, because you can see them, and some of them are really shiny and really eye-catching. They're like, what's that one? And the kids will be like, hey, let's play it. Or yeah, even now that we'll go places, and I think you mentioned, it's becoming more mainstream. I went to a family gathering on the weekend, and they brought board games. I didn't bring any board games. This wasn't talked about beforehand. And they had taco, cat, goat, cheese pizza with them. My kids are like, oh, so yeah, I think it's great that they can play and then, do it together without any adult input now.
Yeah, so we had, just before Christmas, we had what is normally kind of bring a toy to school day, but we sort of narrowed it down and said they had to bring a board game. And I was like, oh yeah, they're going to bring Monopoly and Cluedo, maybe Double. But I was actually pleasantly surprised with the games they bought. So one of them bought a version of Match Madness. I think it might have been a Lidl or Aldi version, but it was essentially the same game where they were matching and making the cards. So I thought that was quite cool. They bought Cluster. There was a social deduction game that was kind of like Cluedo, but it was more brought up to date. It was all about social media and kind of things, and deducting who had killed who, which was quite cool. There was a bit of Double, there was a bit of Cluedo, but I think nowadays, more games are out there for children.
They're much more accessible now, especially places like Waterstones in the UK.
Yeah.
There's a lot more shops that just have board games on the shelves that are more of the modern board game kind of thing.
Even in places like Tesco have all the big potato ones now.
Yeah, exactly. Herd mentality they had. My class at the minute particularly enjoying things like Ghost Blitz and 10-second scribbles. I took Toss It for them to play. So yeah, I think it is becoming more mainstream, and it's quite exciting. I think that because I remember growing up and it was literally, I was excited that my mum was going to teach me how to play Monopoly.
Yeah.
But there's a whole world of board games, and I think nowadays more children know.
Yeah.
More games. It's good.
And I think definitely like kids do learn massively through them. There's just so many skills that, as you mentioned before, there's just so many skills within board games that it's just a no-brainer to get your family into games.
Yes. So, shall we do a board game menu?
We should do a board game menu.
What's May's board game menu? Is it going to be May's board game menu?
Or is it going to be May's board game menu she's going to feed to her kids?
Yeah. Well, maybe we could hear both.
And you make up two.
Sure.
Ooh.
More pressure.
Well, if it's the kids one, I could just go with what we played last night. So that one's easy. I'll start with that one. We did Starship Academy, which is a long and kind of narrative timed adventure one in space where you're running around the house and having to do crazy things before the timer runs out into different levels, which is a really good high energy one because you kind of want something that makes them tired afterwards. And then we played Things in Rings. And then we played, what was it? Potato Man. So there we go. There's a family one.
Potato Man, I've not heard of that.
It is a really good kind of first trick taker. I don't think it's out in the UK yet. My copy came from Amazon US. But it's a really interesting little trick taker where you play suits, but you can't play the same suit. So someone plays blue, someone plays green, someone plays red, someone has to play yellow. And then it's still highest number wins, unless you have the evil fry, who's the highest number, and then he can be beaten by the lowest number. So it's a really simple trick taker, but it's really colourful and the characters are brilliant, and it's got a super potato.
That's cool. That's cool. So what would your board game menu be? If you're not with the kids and you're with, your friends, what would you choose to play?
Probably Ito to start with. I think that's fantastic. I have taught that to so many groups of complete strangers who have gone away and said, like, I know you really well now. Like, I know you better than I know some people I know now. And it's always the really obscure ones that get people talking. And then I would never pass up a game of Ark Nova. It's one of my favourites. And then end it with Courtesans, because I think that's a great kind of light one.
It's a really good game.
That's a long night, though, if you're playing Ark Nova with a lot of people.
That's fine. We can do that. That's all right.
It's an all-nighter.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you very much. Is there anything else that you wanted to say or add to your comments? Anything that we've not mentioned?
I suppose the side of gaming that gets the kids doing things that they don't like doing normally, but in the bravado that it's fun. That's something I really like in board gaming. So things like reluctant writers, I always recommend to friends that ask, like solo RPGs and things, because it's a really fun way of them doing something they want to do, because once they're interested in something, they'll go for it rather than have that mental block of I can't do this. It's like, oh, I'm telling a story and it's my story. So things like that. Yeah. And the same with games. Follow their interests rather than something you think they'll like. Just ask them and let them pick out things. And then it's amazing what they're willing to play, even, you know, above their age group, because they're interested in that subject compared to just games for 4-year-olds.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Alana is kind of into, like, I want to learn new games. So we've sort of, we're trying to find ones that are accessible for her. But she's like, right, I played that one. Now I'm on to the next one. Which one's like, okay, slow down. We can play the same one.
It's like today she was like, I want that one. The one that says Quest for El Dorado. Okay.
We'll teach you
maybe.
Tomorrow.
We'll see.
But yeah, no, it does push them out of their comfort zone. And things like social deduction, you know, they wouldn't maybe have the chance to do those kind of things, but it teaches them how to do those things in a safe environment.
Well, exactly.
Where, you know, you're not.
And I've played social deduction games against her. She's brilliant.
So
yes. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for being on the podcast. Mm-hmm. And yes, and where can everybody find you to give you a big old follow?
I'm just on Instagram. That's my thing. So I'm Played Together Board Gaming on Instagram.
Cool. Yeah. So make sure you give May a follow on the Instagram. And yes, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. Please give us a 5-star rating or a 5-star review on your podcatcher of choice. Leave a lovely comment. It always helps the algorithm find us, share with a friend, and do all of that good stuff. And remember to get into board game educational things.
Yeah.
Wow. I did it right.
Silly stuff. What's wrong with you?
I don't know. Thanks everyone for listening to the
comment. What's wrong with Craig?
Yes, hashtag what's wrong with Craig.
There we go.
That's what you have to put on Instagram if you've listened to the end of the podcast.
Yay.
Thank you so much for listening and see you on the next one.